6. Justice League Fantasy Football. It's in the books. Got the body headbangers going. We're getting deep into it now. Week 6 is in the books. It's another hard-fought week. Lots of ads, lots of drops, lots of drama. Man, at this point now, you've got to have a feel for kind of what you got on your roster. You've got to feel you've probably won or lost a trade or two. You've got some ads and some drops. You've got the waiver wire pretty much figured out. What are your thoughts 6 weeks in now, Mike? I mean, you've had some good weeks, some bad weeks. I mean, you've experienced kind of the whole gamut. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean it's up and down. It's it's certainly, I agree with you that you have a feel now for your roster, what's going to work and what isn't. I think with all the teams, I think everyone knows that at this point. I mean, you know what's going to work and what isn't. Obviously, there's still trades going on consistently, but certainly I benefited from trades the last few weeks, but just figuring out guys that you can trust in volume, whether they get great weeks or not. For me, it's like Ayuk. I stuck with him even though he was still getting me 7 and 8 points. It was still like you saw the volume in that offense. That's kind of stuff I think everyone's studying of what each guy does, and sometimes it's just blatant luck where you just you have a gut feeling and you just go with a guy that you play him and it works out. But I think it's really just feeling the volume of each player that you have on your team. And I think those are the teams that are winning, consistently, the teams that are up high in the, as far as the board. I think they've done the best job as far as that. But I think everyone's just trying to figure out that volume.
Yeah, we're going to go down and start with, Mike, we'll start with your matchup. Okay. You are a 126.57 winner. Over the Bomb Squad at 85.51. His team didn't have a good week. He had Aaron Rodgers, 17.29 points. Did get a good matchup or a good performance from A.J. Brown in the Dallas, the Sunday night game. That was pretty solid. A.J. Brown did his thing, had a touchdown. He had Duvernay. Duvernay kind of came back down to earth. We were wondering when it was going to happen. Duvernay was kind of going off. It was kind of random, and he crashed down to earth in New York. Mixon continues to be a stalwart for his team at 19 points. Melvin Gordon, just a no-show, didn't even have a log of point at 0.8, 8 rush yards. That was a terrible performance. Higbee, normally pretty reliable, and this one here against Carolina in a 24-10 win, only had 1 reception, 7 yards. He went with Sills, one of the Giants receivers. I mean, just playing whack-a-mole at receiver in New York. I mean, they don't know. Both New York teams right now, receiver-wise, I mean, just – throw it up in the air, see what sticks. He didn't get much there. McKenzie had a really rough game. McKenzie had a stumble in the end zone, could have had a touchdown, stumbled, and had a couple other plays that weren't too flattering. He did get a lot from McManus, 14 points. He didn't get a whole lot from his IDP. Nothing on his bench to talk about. You, on the other hand, start with your bench. Claypool. I know you've been waiting for Claypool. He finally blew up, 26.4 points. And he was the guy they looked for late. He looked like the best player, definitely in the receiving core. And he's who they relied on. Micah Parsons gave you 16. Got 8 from Tucker. A little bit lower than what you used to from him. Eno Benjamin, a big waiver wire pickup he had 11. DJ Moore, we just executed a trade. You sent him to me. I sent you Mooney. And, I hope they can get that figured out in Carolina because that is pitiful. DJ Moore is a 1,000-yard receiver like 4 years in a row, and he's got 3.7 points here because they have an absolute high school player out there in Carolina trying to be a quarterback. It bothers me, Mike, because we spend a lot of time, with the game, breaking it down, and I know that there are a number of guys who can quarterback better than P.J. Walker can. And one of them was a legend for Carolina, Cam Newton. And it kind of pisses me off that somebody like Cam Newton's got to sit on his couch and watch that just disaster in Carolina. And it's affecting fantasy teams now because that guy couldn't – his average depth of target was negative. It was just all bubble screens. The kid could not push the ball downfield. You cannot quarterback in the NFL if you can't do that. I'm on a soapbox there, but that just bothers me because there's guys who can actually play the position that don't have a job. and then this guy's got a job and can absolutely not play the position whatsoever. So DJ Moore had 4 points because of just putrid, abysmal quarterback play from people who should not be on an NFL roster. Dawson Knox had 14 points. Big performance from him. I know the coach kind of alluded to him having gone through some stuff and kind of being on the right side of it now. So Dawson Knox could be in line for some big performances. Jamie Robinson continues to cede work to Etienne. That's a problem. I think Etienne is probably back to have in Jacksonville now. Kamara just continuing to be solid. Another 20-point performance. Mike Williams, weird game. 4 points. That's just weird. Mike Williams should have had a lot more. Ayuk goes crazy. Really buoyed your week. Ayuk did with a 31-point performance, and then you got 14 from Herbert. What did you see from your team, and going forward, what are you looking at?
I think overall, I was really happy. Just going into this Monday night game, obviously it was a weird game because Justin he's usually a lot more. He's usually almost a guaranteed 25, and then Mike's usually a consistent 15. But it's okay. I was still very happy going into that game because finally got the high value of Ayuk starting to get the rock, and then the rest of the team was just very balanced of what I needed. Dawson Knox finally showed that he wants to play football and went out there and got a touchdown. So just starting to see the production of what these guys I think should do week in and week out. Obviously, there's some stuff I'll mess around there, and then I love the fact that Claypool. That's why I kept him. A lot of people wanted me to trade him and just get rid of him, and that's why I kept him because I really felt like I could see it. And I even told Rico this when they were getting George Pickens a ball, and it was George Pickens all the time. I really liked the value of what they were doing with Claypool, even though he only had like 40 and 50 yards. So I really like that. That's definitely something I need to have depth as far as guys that I can turn to, not have to play the same guy every week. And certainly you're going to need that down the stretch when you have guys going on bye. So I was very pleased. I mean, main thing is I needed a win to stop this just surge that was going on. So I didn't care how it happened. If I scored the most points, I just wanted to go out there and get a W and certainly play a comfortable week. And for once, I actually got a break where somebody didn't go nuts against my team. But overall, just I felt like I played the right guys. What I had in there. Obviously, you can second guess it. I could have played Claypool instead of Pollard, but outside of that, I think I did everything that I wanted to do.
All right, you get the win there, so that moves you up to 2-4. Interesting thing about our standings here, we'll break it down here at the end. It's going to be very competitive for the playoff spots. We've got a big cluster of guys who are going to be in that 3-3, kind of 2-4 range, which are going to be cleaning up the last spots to get to the playoff. And it's 8 teams, man. Just win, get in, and then see what happens. We don't have any buys here in Justice League, man. So you got to put it on the line. That first week in the playoffs, and that's nipped some people before. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, really, there's only one team right now that's more than a game out of a playoff spot, which is pretty wild. So yeah, happy to see just the overall depth of the league so far, and it's looking good. Moving on, we'll go to Team Cannon. That's going to be Trey's team going up against Ant. He had an even 120. Problem was James Crabhunter had 142.53. Trey gets the loss here. Ant gets the win. 20 from Brady, 17 from Thielen, 18 from Godwin, 2 from McKissick. Probably going to have to look at another back there. 9 from Rachaad White. I like Rachaad White, and I look for him to get some more work going on towards the season. I like that pick for Ant. I think that's going to reap some benefits down the line.
Yeah.
Kelsey continues to ball, 22 points. 19 from Gabe Davis, another over-the-top touchdown. That guy is just a highlight waiting to happen. And then got 16 from Ertz. Porterfield really likes to play a couple tight ends, and it's working out for him. He's getting production. Got 6 from Graham Gano. Got 15 even from Derwin James. Nice game from Derwin. On the bench, Juju Smith-Schuster had 28 points. Terrific game from him. He was like the WR1 out there. Finally looked like what they brought him in to do. Braxton Berrios had a touchdown, had 12 points. Moving over to Trey. Not a whole lot on his bench. Wan'Dale Robinson did get a touchdown, a couple receptions, 37 yards. That's an interesting pick there. See if he sticks with that. He rolled with the Tyson Hufanga guy out of San Francisco. He cooled down on that 3 points. Crosby, 4 points. 6 points from Pickens. Cooled off. Pickens cooled off here. Be interesting to see if he hangs on to him or if he tries to flip him. Those young wide receivers, man, it's like that equity point gets to a certain level. It's like you got to kind of strike because a couple bad performances really kind of put them in the dumps. And Trey's got a lot of that. It's got Romeo Doubs. That Packers offense looks bad. Romeo had 6 points. Got Garrett Wilson at 1.8 points. So it's going to be interesting. Those guys kind of need to pick it up in order to get their value back. Or Trey's just going to have to roll with the young pups at the wide receiver spot and hope it pans out. Got 11 from Ish Smith. Got 15 from Etienne, who we just talked about, the split between Etienne and Robinson. One great pickup that Trey has, and I know he's a Michigan State guy, is Kenneth Walker III. He looked really good, and that looks like a really good pickup for him and somebody that's going to be an everyday starter or every week starter for him. Had 20 points. Michael Pittman, big-time game, 30 points. Matt Ryan, as much as we dog Matt Ryan out, he had a hell of a game, made some great plays, and he went to Pittman a lot. Lamar Jackson, kind of a pedestrian 22-point game. Had some turnovers late, and that's kind of been the knack. Lamar's starting to revert back into that kind of 2021 form that he was in slowly. I don't want to beat him up too bad because he had a brilliant first 3-4 games, but it's really starting to taper off now, and you're starting to see it a couple weeks back to back. Little concerning. Trey's going to have to patch some stuff up, maybe make some moves. He's going to get Olave back. He's going to get Bateman back, and he made a big trade for Swift. So he was down some guns in this week, to be fair. Olave, Bateman, and Swift are probably guys that he's going to start. He's got some IDP guys down here with Leonard and Watt. Not sure if he's going to keep them because they're eaten up by our spots that he may need through bye weeks and other injuries. But he's got some pieces on this team to put it together. But falls to 2-4. 2-4 is kind of a tough spot. I remember last year, I think it was last year, I was 2-4, and I felt a lot of pressure to win that week 7. Like, it's a lot of pressure when you're sitting there. And I know you're 2-4 as well, but it's different when you're 2-4 coming off a win, when you're 2-4 coming off a loss. It just feels different.
Yeah.
So
it does. And looking at this week, the one thing I noticed was if you look at the last 4 scores for Trey, they all were under double digits. And then you look, obviously Garrett had just an awful game, so he didn't do a lot. And then you look at Ant's team, there's such balance across the board. Yeah, there's some guys that didn't score as high, but there's so many explosive point totals in there when you look at Ant's team. So Trey's gonna have to do some juggling. I mean, I'm just telling you, Trey, you do what you want, but that Green Bay offense sucks. So you got 2 players from Green Bay you're playing. So they look horrible. They're not going to add a lot to offense right now. That team, that's whatever's going on in Green Bay is bad. They really just can't do anything offensively. Dobbs looked like the trendy pickup. Now they can't do anything offensively. On the flip side, you have Ant, had Gabe Davis, who had a big day, who I love. Kelsey does what he does, and then Godwin certainly had a major game, and then Thielen's just a consistent guy. Jefferson's the guy they always talk about, but Thielen's always the one that's gobbling up yards and points, and even from a subpar game from Tom Brady, he still was able to win comfortably, by over 20 points. So I think it shows you the difference when things are balanced compared to when things aren't. But Trey, like you said, Trey has plenty of guys that are on the bench. He's got the trade coming over, so he's got moves coming up that he can adjust things. But those Green Bay guys, dude, I mean, I that's that's a hard
he moved off. He moved off of one. He moved off of Aaron Jones, so that's something that he did, and he brought in Swift.
Right.
So Swift can be healthy. That's he's a big time.
So
player.
that should help. Just
he's gonna have to move and shake, and he's shaking. So we'll see what he comes up with. So we've got the next matchup. We've got Corey and Prime. Corey falls to Prime in a close one, 142.78. Prime had 149.15. Going over Corey's roster, he rode with Geno Smith. Who was his other quarterback? It was off. He had Derek Carr, so he had to roll with Geno Smith. Geno had been hot. He wasn't hot this game, and it was really frustrating because I was hoping he would get the ball DK Metcalf, and they could not get on the same page. Geno gets the win in pretty dominant fashion. Seattle was really dominant on defense. I mean, holding Arizona 9 points is impressive. Geno finished with 16 points. Not the best. I know Corey was a little worried about Jamar Chase. Corey, don't worry about Jamar Chase. He is a top probably 3 receiver in the NFL. He's ridiculous.
Yeah.
37 points. He reminded the fantasy world why. Huge game. Back in the bayou, back in the boot. Him and Burrow went crazy. Jamar won the game down the sideline, just making plays that maybe him and 2 other people in the NFL can make. Continued frustration with Deontay Johnson. 10 points. I don't really know what to say here because Deontay's so talented, but there's something this year that's not clicking like it clicked the last 2 years. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Deontay Johnson is hurting his team. A guy that's helping his team big time, 2 guys, Breece Hall and Stevenson from New England. He got 22 and 26 respectively. Huge performances. That's awesome for him. That's going to be nice going forward. He got 9 from Everett. I spoke before about when Parham came off of IR. That was going to be a problem because the Chargers really like Parham in the red zone. They really like him for a touchdown guy, and that's going to kind of siphon some work from Everett. So it'll be interesting to see if that split at tight end gets more 50-50. And if they really like Parham, he's a downfield threat. So that's going to be interesting. Yep. Myers hits 11 points. Jeff Wilson Jr. Fumbled, and man, Shanahan rotates backs like most people who are sanitary rotate underwear, which is like every day. So he only got a point there. That's a problem. You're going to have some returners with Mitchell coming back soon too. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with Jeff Wilson Jr. Bass, 7 points. Judon had 5. Nothing really on the bench to speak of. He did bench London. London only had 8 points in a win. Atlanta had a great win over San Francisco. London only had 8 points. So he's going to have some moves to make like we all do. Dobbins with 1.5 points and then re-aggravated an injury. Jahan Dotson was off. So still got some good pieces. He's got Waller and Carr coming back next week, so it'll give him some more punch. So it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back. Now, looking at Merck got the 20 points from Kyler Murray, who's been underperforming all year. A pedestrian 20 from Kupp. And I say that because Kupp's normally good for 30. He only got 20 this week, so that's good. But Hill dropped his 36. So Merck is just getting – those 2 are like the Bash brothers at receiver. He got a big performance from Zeke, 18 points. Zeke got in the end zone, 81 rush yards. I think this one could be a sneaky one. I know you're a Dallas guy. What do you think Zeke's going to do down the stretch here?
Yeah, I think it's going to be big. I mean, I've told people this. The one comment I've said about Dallas is like when Dak plays, which Dak will be in there the next game, Zeke really benefits from Dak. When Dak is healthy, Zeke just flourishes. He gets so much volume. Now I think both of the backs will get that, but Zeke will get the TD. Zeke will get the guy because you have to prepare for the fact that Dak can run. So you can't just closing everyone in like you usually do with Zeke. So I think Zeke, whoever has Zeke, obviously Merck, you're going to get a big boom, I think, with Zeke going forward as long as they can keep, Dak Prescott healthy. But it's also just with this week, you look through it, it's the difference between, hitting on a few guys, which Corey did with certainly, there's some like 3 or 4 guys in there that really hit, and then the rest of them were just they didn't do anything. And then you look at Merck's side. It's balanced throughout it, and that's the difference. Winning and losing every week. I've been on the side of that where you have big game, boom game, but it's why each position. It's why we tell people to set your lineups because each position is huge to have that balance throughout the week. A lot of low scoring games this week, but compared to what we've had, but I think overall, just Merck's got a great team and certainly got guys on the bench.
Right, and it's going to happen that way now, Mike, because now we're in bye weeks, and it's going to affect a lot of people. And this is where the managerial side really comes into play. You got to make moves, you got to make waiver adds, you got to make trades, you got to do a lot of things to kind of, buoy your team through bye weeks because there's going to be some weeks where you're missing 3 or 4 dudes. I mean, you're not going to score 200 points when you're down 3 or 4 top guys.
Yep.
It's just going to be difficult. So some teams are going to start feeling that, but looking further down Merck's roster, really had a rough day from Kareem Hunt, only 1 point. Joku had 10 points, got another 16 from Cooper. It's a sneaky pickup right there for Mark. He was kind of bullish on Cooper, and it's paying off. Cooper continues to score TDs and continues to be a bright spot in Cleveland. Be really interesting if Deshaun comes back. There's a new allegation. God knows he's got a mess going on, but if he is able to come back, man, Cooper could really do some damage with him. He got another 17 from Devonta Smith, sneakily being one of the better receivers. The secondary receivers for the Phillies and just in the league. He's been really productive. 4 from Koo, and then he got 8 from Devin White. Daniel Jones had 22 points. So Merck moves to 4-2. Corey falls to 3-3. And that brings us to our next matchup, which is going to be the low-scoring matchup of the day. And our good brother Trent needs a little help. The roster is just not good. He's going to have to set the roster and not start Dallas Schultz when he's scratched, especially when you got 21 points for Robert Tonyan sitting on the bench there. So, again, it's just one of these things. I know people work their teams differently, and some people pay maybe a little more attention than others. But in this league here, you got to be on it. You just have to. You have to really check your stuff and really check your dudes. These injury reports are really tough. Sometimes they late scratch them. I know that happened to you, Mike, a couple of weeks ago at a London game. And I mean, you really need to check like right before. Like I go through mine at like 11:45 because I'm Central Time, and I'm up to like 11:55, 56. I'm making sure there's no last minute bullshit. Like just to be frank. And that's what you have to do here. This burned him. He lost 21 points to Dallas Schultz. Coleman did nothing. Randall Cobb got hurt, probably out for the year, maybe the end of his career. It'd be a good time to have Christian Watson. Jamal Agnew, 5 points. He went out. So he had 2 guys go out in game. 1 guy did nothing. He didn't set his lineup. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 3.8 points. May want to get off him. Samuel had a terrible game for the first time this year. Kirk did score a touchdown, but only had 4 catches. Trevor Lawrence did awesome. He had 33 points. Myers gave him 14, but all in all, it winds up being a 73-point dud. The 21 points on the bench could have helped, but it wouldn't have made a difference. He's getting Patterson back off IR soon, and DJ Chark comes off of a bye, so that will help him out. Going over to Mario. It's going to be really hard to beat people when you get 5 points from your quarterback, but when your opponent scores 73 points and has a down week, you can get by with 5 points at the quarterback spot. Mario's got one of the elite players in fantasy, Stephon Diggs, 35 points from him. He's one of the very best players in fantasy. He executed a trade to get Aaron Jones and Alec Pierce, and strangely enough, Alec Pierce is the one that had 15 points, game-winning touchdown catch. He got 15 from there. That was a big play for him. David Montgomery gave him a nice 10 points in a tough game against Washington on Thursday. That was even tougher to watch. But we made it through. Brian Robinson Jr., I love this pick for him. Yeah, Brian Robinson Jr., I tried to trade for him because I really like that kid. I think he's going to be good. I think Washington's identity under Ron Rivera is going to be running the ball. I think he's got a good pick there. So if you do trade him, Mario, get somebody good for him because he's good. Dallas Goedert, 5 points there. Jaylen Warren, I guess he just kind of took a shot there. He had some dudes out. Yeah. And really not a whole lot. Aaron Jones had 8 points. That Packers offense, I'm invested in it too with Dylan, and it's not fun. That Packers offense looks like garbage. They need a bye week, and they ain't going to get one until I think week 14 maybe. So it's going to be a while. They're going to have to figure this out on the fly. And looking at his bench, he's got a bunch of bench backs. Cam Akers, he's a null. We love him. I don't know what the hell's going on. Cam Akers is probably not going to be with the LA Rams anymore. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. I just hope that he's healthy. And if he gets a shot, we'll see. The NFL's fickle, man. Running backs, NFL, man, not for long. It's cutthroat like that. He's got Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly went out in game with some type of strain or sprain. So DeAndre Hopkins is the bright spot that he's got on his bench to try to help him. He squeezes out a win, 107.76, 73.14 over Mays and Crew. 2 of the teams in the league that are in need of some work. Mario does get a win, goes to 2-4. Trent drops to 1-5. It's getting dark for Trent. Trent's going to have to kind of pick it up here, or it's going to be reverted to a spoiler roll. That's all I got on
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just winning's winning, Mario. You won the week, so that's what matters. By the end of the day, like I go back to the Green Bay stuff, that offense is terrible. You might want to figure out if you can do something with a trade or maybe something or there, but certainly there's some great stuff on I think that you can utilize as far as in your lineup. But yeah, I mean every week's about winning that week. So he won that week, but there's work to do, and then I've been there with those weeks, Trent. So I know what you're feeling, man. Just he's got to figure out some stuff. Just work. You got to work it as a manager and see what you can do as far as really focusing on the weak points. You can't get everything accomplished, but you can start to kind of change your team. That's where it starts. You just start with one part,
Yeah.
two parts, and then eventually it gets to where your team's different. So we've all seen this before. We've seen teams that are low and then bam, they turn their roster around, start making some guys and moves in there that really just focus on certain parts of your team and it can turn it around. But yeah, they both have some work to do there.
Yep, and moving on, we're going to go to our next matchup, which is going to be Willie facing off against Mark, the Ozone. Ozone comes away with a win. I believe it's his third win in a row, 138.16 to 126.49. Good matchup. It featured the two best quarterbacks in fantasy football, Josh Allen and Mahomes, respectively, in that order. So we'll start with Willie. He gets 40 from Josh Allen. That's really been buoying his team. He's QB1 and he's player one in fantasy. Josh Allen is all that in a bag of chips and a side of cookies and a Sprite. Like he is the man in
Yep.
fantasy. I think Buffalo has the best team. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl, and I think that's your MVP. And he's just killing it for Will's team every week. He's a threat to beat anybody because that guy is a threat to do 40 or 50. Tyler Lockett had a quiet day, 4 points. Rondale Moore, 12 points. Dalvin Cook had a nice long touchdown, 18 points. Been quiet this year. Dalvin Cook has not been the Dalvin Cook we expected him to be. Interesting development there. See if that sticks. I don't know if they're kind of easing him in. They don't want to beat him up like he's gotten beaten up in the last couple of years. But Dalvin Cook was arguably a top 3 running back in fantasy football. He is not that right now. Antonio Gibson ended up getting 10.4 points in a game that really started and featured Brian Robinson. Rivera released some comments afterward and said, hey, we need more Gibson. Gibson was very, very efficient in the touches that he got. So I think Gibson, there's still some hope there for Gibson to be an effective fantasy back. We'll see if Willie keeps rolling him out there. 10 points from Ingram. Zay Jones comes back. It's 11 points. Devin Singletary has 16 points. A nice surprise. Devin Singletary was kind of frustrating the last 2 years of fantasy. He's really been solid this year. He's a solid RB2, in my opinion, for Buffalo there. And they phased out Zach Moss. I mean, they bring in James Cook when they need to spell Singletary. But the rumors are swirling, Mike. Christian McCaffrey, his name is getting thrown around out there. Buffalo is on the cusp of a Super Bowl. They're looking like the favorite. If Christian McCaffrey goes to Buffalo, Devin Singletary, you're going to be like an RB17, and Buffalo's just going to destroy the universe. So we'll see if that happens. Nothing really crazy on Willie's bench. He did get 18 from Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry scored another touchdown. Bailey Zapps out there in New England killing it. So 126.49 is what Willie finishes with. He was down 12 points in the totals, 138.16. Ozone scored, got 32 from Mahomes, 4 from Sutton. Kind of surprising. That's a low number.
Yeah.
20 from Allen Robinson. Surprising. That's a high number. Kind of reverse those two.
That's shocking.
Leonard Fournette's an RB1. He's an RB1. He's been crushing it. He had a 40-burger last week, comes back with 24 this week. Miles Sanders, I've been beating that guy up because he's always hurt. Well, he ain't getting hurt this year. Another 15 points. He's been killing it. Another TD, something. 2 things he didn't have last year was touchdowns and games played because he was always hurt. He's doing really well for Mark. He's a big part of his resurgence here. He rolls out Taysom Hill, who's a gadgety dude. 6 points there. McCole Hardman had a decent game, got a touchdown, 15 points there. He's playing Slayton from New York. The Giants just whack-a-mole with the receiver. I have no idea who to play there. I mean, it's like 17 guys out there. I don't know who to play. And, some people are still holding out hope that Kadarius Toney is going to matter this fantasy season. I have my doubts. I don't know what's going on with New York Giants receivers, honestly. 13 points from Butker, 6 from Snead, and did get a nice game from Josh Palmer. We talked about Josh Palmer in this Monday night game. In a game that didn't feature much scoring, Palmer still ended up with 21 points. So that's the third win in the row for Ozone. I know you played Ozone earlier. I played him first week of the year, and he was competitive. He's got a nice squad.
He does.
Can make some noise. I mean, if he plays Palmer, you got Hockenson on the bench. Valdez Scantling had a donut. I don't know how that happened. And he's got James Conner, who's in an IR spot right now. So you throw in James Conner and say take out Slayton, and you roll Connor, Sanders, Fournette, and let's say you put in Palmer and you take out Robinson, who's not going to do 20 points a week, or maybe take out Slayton. You could have something here. I think Mark's got a sneaky team, and right now he'd be in the playoffs. I mean, he's 3-3. He'd be in there. I've got him as the number 6 team in our league.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a nice team. I mean, obviously I played him. So you look at Fournette. Sutton's usually good. I think that's just an anomaly. He's their leading receiver, So I think that's just one of those games where, I mean, Mike Williams looked like crap too. So, so you're going to have one of those games. But the rest of these guys, they're all solid. Buckner's automatic. Certainly Patrick Mahomes is Patty. And, the part he probably wants to work on is just the fixing out of Robinson, Slayton, definitely Slayton, because I mean that's just there's nothing there. And then I really like the Palmer kid. I think he gets a lot of burn in that offense. I think he's a physical threat that they don't have outside of Mike. So that really opens stuff. He's got a really nice team. You look at the team; it's really competitive, and there's no secret that he's in the playoffs. And I think it's a good team.
Yep, Ozone gets the win. He comes up to 3-3, and moving on to our next matchup, we had last week's power ranking number 1 team. We had Eddie. He's changed his name to some stuff we're not going to put on here. Kind of goofy. Eddie went up against Gino. Eddie's team didn't have a good week. He fell 127.50 to Gino 155.37. So Gino gets a pretty dominant win here. Gino gets his second win. He's starting to revive a little bit. He ended up getting 18 from Russell Wilson. Waddle, another big game, had 19. 13 from Peoples-Jones. Only 9 from Nick Chubb. That's surprising. Nick Chubb's usually a lot more dominant than that, especially when Kareem Hunt only had, I think, 1 point. So but you know what, though? It's not surprising. It's Belichick. It's what Belichick does. It's what Matt Patricia does. They take away your bread and butter. They make you beat them in another way, and a lot of times you can't. And if you've got a very deep team, then maybe you can. But if you're really focused in one facet of the game offensively with the game plan, which Cleveland is running the ball, Belichick's going to take that away, and he did. Only 9 points for Chubb. McCaffrey continues to be Christian McCaffrey, staying healthy, another 26 points. Guy's just a fantasy demon when he's on the field. 11 points from Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts got 3 catches only, but he did get one of them for a touchdown. So Atlanta, what the hell are you doing with Kyle Pitts? Like, this guy is a mismatch. This guy is a freakazoid. This guy is a wide receiver at 6'5", 240, running a 4.4, complete mismatch demon, and you're not getting him the ball. Fix that. That's freaking ridiculous. Like, you drafted him for. It's a travesty, and I'm on a soapbox again because it pisses me off when teams handicap players like this. They got them on the edge, chipping and doing all kind of weird stuff, blocking. This guy's an elite tight end, man. He's like an Antonio Gates type talent with more speed. Mm-hmm. Get him out there and use him. I mean, or don't draft him at 4. Let him go to a team that's going to use him. Let him go to a team that's going to field an actual quarterback that's going to do more than run read option. I get it, Atlanta's winning, but I mean, Pitts, for fantasy purpose, I mean, this stinks. And I don't know how they're going to be able to keep winning if they're not using their best player. If London's not getting off and Pitts is not getting off, all these teams aren't going to be putting the ball on the deck. So this is a little concerning, one, for the rest of the season. And then from a fantasy perspective, if we're talking about Kyle Pitts having a big game at 11, that's kind of weird. 3 catches. I mean, get this guy the ball. He's one of the best tight ends in football. Devontae Parker is kind of like feast or famine. He got 12 points here that helped him out. Got 10 points from Jerry Jeudy tonight. Got 7 points from Folk. A big performance from Myles Garrett. We actually made a trade for Myles Garrett a couple weeks ago. Garrett,
Yep.
when his motor's running, maybe best in the NFL defensively. Maybe. I mean, he's an absolute monster, like absolute unblockable monster. But he has games where he just kind of shows up and just, I'll just come off the ball a couple times and just, maybe look disinterested the other 80%.
Yeah.
But he was interested this game. He had 29 points. Big problem for Geno is Mike Thomas is probably going to be out again week 7. He's got something going on with his toe. Roquan Smith's another defender he had. Moving over to Corey's team on the bench, nothing really to talk about there. Aaron Donald only had 6 points, or excuse me, not Corey's team, Eddie's team. The bench, we had not a whole lot going on. Aaron Donald, 6 points in his IDP. Did get 14 from Suckup. Quiet game from Justin Jefferson, relative at 19 points. Jefferson's been going off lately. Got 12 from T. Higgins. I know he was kind of going back and forth on who to start. Got a donut from Elijah Moore. That's concerning. Probably going to be on the cut line. Julio Jones still hasn't played for him. Keenan Allen is still on the mend. So he's got some guns on the bench, particularly Keenan Allen. He's not ready yet. Higgins gave him 12. Cameron Brate, I think, is done. I think it's his second concussion. I think the guy you picked up is going to be the guy they roll with. From what I read today, Brate's probably a drop. I don't think he's going to play another down football this year. Can't have all those concussions in a row at this point. He was down on the field for a long time. I think Brate's done. Henderson, great pickup for Henderson, because now with no Cam Akers, Henderson's the RB1 there, got 14 there. 7 from Mostert. Just be honest, Mostert's 33 years old. I think that engine's going to be on the side of the road kaput in a couple of weeks. And they love him, and they're running him, and they're using him at 49 rush yards. But that's a scary thing. If I'm looking at his roster, I'd be worried about the Mostert. I'm not sure who he's got as far as other backs. I see Michael Carter down there. But that's a little scary, because Mostert, that's a tentative starter at running back there, because I just don't know that a 33-year-old is going to be able to go 17 games. But that's me. Lazard, love Lazard there, 19 points. I think Lazard is one of the bright spots in that Green Bay offense. Love Mike Evans too, not Tampa Bay's best day. And frankly, they just played like shit. They deserve to lose. They went out there. Brady was missing time in practice. I know he's got a lot of stuff going on, but at some point we got to get back to football. And Tampa Bay is doing a shit job of doing that right now. The O-line's playing like garbage. Brady's not up to par either. And he's got some conduct that's looking unbecoming, yelling and screaming. But it's hard to do that when you're missing half the week of prep. Just going to call it what it is. The only guy in Tampa Bay that's doing his damn job every week on offense is Leonard Fournette. All the rest of these dudes are in and out. And they, frankly, Coach Bowles is going to have to get that under control. Coach Bowles is having to talk about racism and stuff during the week. Screw all that bullshit. Like, let's talk football and get this team prepared, because frankly, this is supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. They don't look like it right now. And frankly, if they played the Atlanta Falcons tomorrow, they'd probably freaking lose, being honest. Jalen Hurts, 24 points. And that's pretty much where Eddie has one of the better teams, one of the better rosters in the league. Not a good week for him. He falls to Geno, who's got a pretty scary team. What are your thoughts on these two squads here?
Yeah, great win for Geno. Shout out to my guy. Good job, man. You got a good win. Your team. What's encouraging for this one? He's got 155, and he had a few guys that didn't do what they usually do. As far as putting up point, like Chubb had an average day. So if Chubb has a great day, he's probably talking about the bag. So I think that's very encouraging. Obviously, Mike Thomas is a concern there for him. Defense, obviously, he had Raekwon Smith on the bench, and he had 16 or close to 17. So I think Gino should be really excited. I think you got to be careful with A's team, because I agree with you. Mostert is a concern, because that guy always wears down during the year. Just happens everywhere he's gone. San Francisco, he got hurt and he was out for the year when he was there. Henderson, I love. That's going to help you. And then T. Higgins, another one we talk about. That dude gets banged up a lot. So it's going to have to juggle some stuff and just kind of keep things going. And and Keenan Allen missing damn near every week. The dude's never there. So he's hurt. Michael Carter's basically been replaced by Brees Hall. So there's some things, even if you're 4-2 and stuff, you still have to. It's what we talk about every week, guys. You always have to measure your team where you're at this week, not what your record is. Because if you do that,
Right.
you're going to lose. You're going to fall apart, and your team's going to fall apart, and you're not going to make the playoffs. So that's what we tell guys every week. You got to focus on your team. These things, I'm just helping you out. The things that I see, and so this, you always got to be working on it because, it could look great for 2 weeks, and then it could flip in 3 weeks, and you've lost like three in a row. So you always got to be seeing what the value is for your team each week, and what's going to be a problem, what guys you can kind of highlight. But great win for Gino, man. He put it on, and he got a big win. That was one he really needed bad.
Yep, and he got it. And Gino's moving up. He's got 2-4 record here. Update our little power rankings here. Who we're going to go in because we've only got one more matchup to talk about, and that was the really the only high scoring matchup of the week. It was the battle between myself and Joe. Joe's team. I knew they were going to put up a fight. He actually went over his projection. He had 160.45, but my guys came to play. I made some adjustments and had to do some stuff. Feel pretty good about what I made as far as adjustments for management. Ended up with 186.15. Joe's team will go over real quick. He starts Justin Fields. I know we got into a big discussion about Justin Fields. Got 25 points out of him. A lot of it on that last drive. Had a brilliant scramble. Almost scored. The guy's a phenomenal athlete, but he is a shit passer of the football. I just can't emphasize it enough. The guy missing throws all over. He should have had 40 points in this game. Missed a couple touchdown throws. He made a throw to Mooney, and we were talking about it, and it's a ball that Mooney probably should have caught. Probably should have came down in the end zone.
He should have caught it.
But the ball was not where it needed to be. And I know in our chat, I illustrated literally like I drew where the ball's supposed to be, which was like 2 yards deeper into the end zone off the line. And it needed to be closer to the pylon because it would have allowed Mooney to turn his body and catch it. The way that it was thrown, it was underthrown, and it was underthrown, and it was late. And that's the problem with Fields is everything he does is a second late with a super long windup. And it caused the DB, Ben St. Juste, know him from Michigan. He was able to come up under him and dislodge the ball. And Mooney probably should have made the catch, but it would have been a hell of a catch. And if he did make the catch, it would have been like a review to see if it was a touchdown anyway, which that shouldn't happen. The design of the play is to go 2 yards deep into the end zone, turn, even if it's back shoulder, the ball's got to be closer to the pot. So whatever. Justin Fields hopefully will get it together. But,
I've been watching Fields the last 2 weeks. I really study his game because I want to see what's going on because he's doing a lot of things that he didn't do when he was at Ohio State when he had that big year. And the one thing I noticed is he's aiming the football a lot on these throws. He's late on the windup, but he's aiming the ball. That's why that ball was thrown the way it was to Mooney, because he's aiming it to a certain place. And when you're late, your shoulders aren't parallel, and it's gonna be late, and it's not gonna be in front of the receiver. That ball's supposed to be in front of the receiver on the right side, so he can carry himself through the end zone to the pylon. That's where that ball's supposed to be. I mean, so he's aiming the ball too much, and Justin needs to do a better job of just trusting his arm and just throwing the ball because he's doing too much thinking and not enough playing.
And the frustrating thing is, I rostered Justin Fields. He was one of the most exciting players last year. I know Corey named his team after just like the whole Justice League is like waiting for this kid to like take off and be the new Deshaun Watson. Like everybody's rooting for him. Nobody dislikes him. He's a freak athlete. Looks like a good dude. I mean, it's just not happening because the quarterback development, I don't know if it's coaching in Chicago or what it is, but this kid is operating at about a 60% clip of his potential. Be interesting to see. If he doesn't get better, I don't know what happens in a couple of years. He may be out of the league. Or he fixes it and he could be a stud.
And you can
hear wide range.
Yeah, and you hear it in the press conference. He said in the press conference, like, they keep saying it's going to happen because they're losing all these games. So it's obvious he's also either depressed or his confidence is way down when he plays. Like he's waiting for something bad to happen. So they got to get something good to just get him in a comfort zone, whether it's easy throws, whether it's easy stuff that just gets him comfortable. Because right now, his confidence is very low. That's the thing I noticed. I noticed body language because that's what I do for my job. I noticed people that have body language, and his body language gave off somebody like, damn, when's this going to just go my way?
Yeah, but the thing is, what do you? I just don't understand that though. I don't understand the when's it going to happen because if you break down the film, he's
Yep.
made some phenomenal plays with the running. That touchdown play he threw on
Yeah.
the free play, that was a terrific throw. It luckily it didn't go to review because I think the guy was actually out of balance with the bobble. But whatever, Fields, hell of a play, great throw. But when you look at the film, I mean, the missed touchdown pass
Hmm.
in the first half, a couple other missed throws, missed reads, guys streaking wide open. He's not seeing them. I don't know how you can sit there in a press conference and be like, they keep saying it's going to come together. Like, dude, you're the quarterback.
Yep. You're the one making a
It's
mistake.
gonna it's gonna happen when you raise your game and make it happen. That's why they drafted you with the
Yep.
1 pick or the 2 pick, whatever it was. I mean, that's alarming to me that
Yep.
a quarterback makes a statement like that. They keep saying it's going to happen. Motherfucker, you make it happen. Like
Yep.
you
You got
make
it.
it happen.
Well, I look at his skill similar to what Jalen Hurts does. Like he can run, but also has a really good arm. But the difference is Jalen's getting the ball out to people. He's making plays. He's playing with confidence, and but their skill set is similar to what they can do. But the difference is
Mhm.
up here. Jalen's
Yeah.
showing it up here. You're not.
No comparison between this kid and what Jalen Hurts is doing. Jalen
Yeah.
Hurts is an MVP running. There's no
Yeah.
comparison
That's what
between
I'm saying.
Justin
I'm
Fields and
saying.
Jalen Hurts right now.
Yeah. I'm just saying their skill or what they can do.
Oh,
They
I
built.
know. I'm just piggybacking on that because
Oh yeah.
these guys are similar athletes. I think
Hmm.
both of them can throw the football. I think Fields is a more decorated thrower of the ball, but both of them come out
Right.
of college just
Yeah.
beasts throwing the ball and great offenses. But the ascension that Jalen Hurts has shown compared
Hmm.
to Justin Fields and the attitude, the ownership, and
Oh yeah.
just the accountability, that's an entirely different level. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
what Justin Fields
Absolutely.
needs to get to. If the Bears are going to get to it and it's going to happen when you take that accountability, that ownership that Jalen Hurts has
100%.
shown. Jalen Hurts showed you,
100%. And people forget, like Jalen Hurts was terrible last year throwing the ball. He would
yeah.
miss throws, but you never saw Jalen in the press conference down. He was like, "Hey, you know what? Keep cracking,
No.
get it right." And he kept working on it. And certainly, he got a big weapon having AJ Brown there. But it isn't just that. He's like he really changed the type of quarterback, and that's what Justin has to do. He's got to look himself in the mirror. Don't talk about when it's going to happen. It will happen when your ass actually gets up there and does it, because it's up to you. You're the quarterback.
You're quarterback.
You control everything in the game. So don't talk about when it's going to happen. Actually go out there, do your homework, make good reads, make
Mhm.
throws, and just play football. Stop thinking so much. Stop aiming the ball. Just play football.
Well, that was a long-winded explanation of
Yeah.
Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Don't think it's going to matter because Joe's got Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's probably going to be his guy.
Yeah.
Joe's got a phenomenal team. You add Dak here. I mean, Fields did get 25 points, but Dak's capable of probably doing a little better. He's a little more stable of a QB. He's got McLaurin. McLaurin only gave him 10. That was pretty fortunate. He could have had a bigger day. Hollywood Brown only with 14. That was fortunate too because Hollywood
Yeah.
Brown could
Yeah.
have a monster day and has been awesome. But big concerns out of Hollywood Brown. He's got a foot injury. That's a terrible thing. And he's got a history of having foot injuries dating back to his time in Oklahoma and when he was drafted with the Ravens. So that's something that is going to be a big deal. Hopefully he's not out for too long for Joe because Joe's got IR spots everywhere. Tua, Mitchell,
Yep.
Bosa, Prescott, Jameson Williams, Kadarius Toney. I mean, this team has so
Yeah.
many guys on IR. Another one, I don't know how he's gonna fix that. But he does have some tremendous pieces. Saquon Barkley, 20 points. He's an absolute monster, one of the best, if not the best running back in fantasy football. And if he's not the best, it's probably Austin Eckler, who had 26 points. He's got both of them. And then, he's got Najee Harris, who's struggling, but still very capable of having big days. He only had 14 on this day. And then he's
Yep.
got who I think is the best tight end in football. Kelsey's in the best system, but the best actual tight end, Mark Andrews. Absolute
Yep.
beast monster, 27 points, unstoppable. Every week he's going to give it to you. It doesn't matter if you like it. Michael Gallup is coming along. He only got 4 points with him, but that guy's going to start spiking here soon. That's a great
He will.
piece on Joe's bench or out on Joe's team. 5 points from Maher. Maher's going to bang about triple that in most games, just not in Philly because
Yeah.
Philly's nasty. Probably second best team in the NFL next to the Buffalo Bills. Did get 17 from Winfield. Looking at his bench, everybody's hurt with the exception of Khalil Herbert. Literally, he's got Toney, who's hurt, Jameson Williams, who's hurt. Prescott's coming off of it. Bosa's hurt. Mitchell's hurt. Tagliafico's hurt. Joe's going to have to restructure this thing. I don't see how this is going to work. He's going to get in some bye weeks, have some real trouble here.
Yeah.
Still scored 160 with this, which was a
Yep.
great performance. But he's got some serious top end on this team. This team's going to be a contender all the way through.
Yeah, they are. And Austin Eckler, holy shit, that guy, I haven't seen a running back that controls the whole offense like Austin Eckler does with what San Diego does, or Chargers do. Because I know, because that's my quarterback. Man, it is unreal what that guy can do, or the way
Yeah.
he's used in that offense. Like, it's crazy. But Joe's got a hell of a team. I like a lot of the players that he has as far as steering power. Love what Saquon's doing. Obviously Hollywood Brown's a big concern because the one thing I circle as a really bad sign is if your receivers have foot injuries. The receivers
Yeah.
need to use their feet more than anybody,
Oh yeah.
planning, cutting routes. So
Not good.
when a guy gets a foot injury, it's usually out for extended time. We've seen that with Michael Thomas. Now with Hollywood Brown. I love his team. I love what Eckler does. I love what Andrews does. He's dominant every week, and I think Najee Harris is going to be solid. He's going to be fine. I think he's going to have some big weeks, and then I love the high upside of McLaurin. I think you're going to see a boost in Joe's team once you get Dak in that lineup. I think that's going to be a
Yeah.
boost in his team because that's a drastic jump.
Yeah, Joe's already got one bag. I think he'll get another one.
Yeah.
Once if he gets a clean week and rosters most of his dudes, he's got some serious firepower. So moving over to my team, feel really good about this one, man, because this Joe and I texted back and forth earlier and just said this was going to be a battle. And I had some misfortune. I had a late scratch for Jonathan Taylor. Earlier in the week, I picked up Deion Jackson after watching him last Thursday and figured I got to do this in case Taylor's out, and it paid off in a big way. Deion Jackson had 31 points, so I feel good about that. Kittle made a trade for Kittle. Kittle came through 24 points. CeeDee Lamb at 15 points. I was yelling and screaming at Cooper Rush. It could have been like 30 points if Cooper Rush didn't have a noodle arm, but whatever.
Yep.
He's out of their way now. Darnell Mooney finally spiked 15 points. Could have had even more, but he didn't make the play at the end. Gay, 5 points. I last minute picked up Rashawn Gary. Ended up getting a sack and 4 tackles out of him. He's been tearing it up at the IDP spot. I was down Crosby. So I came into this week feeling kind of up against the odds here. I've got no Derrick Henry because he's on a bye. I lose Jonathan Taylor, who I traded half my team for, and he's still hurt. And then I've got Max Crosby, who's been lighting it up on a bye as well. So I'm like, hey, I got to go against one of the best teams with 3 of my powerhouse dudes down. So I really had to scramble. Gary was part of the scramble. Deion Jackson part of the scramble. Paid off pretty well there. Ended up getting 9 points from Dylan. That Green Bay offense sucks, so I'm going to have to figure something out there. DK only gave me 6 because Gino couldn't get him the ball. Deebo Samuel, 18. And the real player and the hero and the centerpiece of my team is Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow starts the season a little slower than normal, but when he came into the Superdome with that #1 all-white Jamar Chase national championship jersey on, you knew what time it was. He dropped 47, and he was Joe Cool, and he's one of the baddest dudes in the NFL, man. He just is, and I think he's a top 5 quarterback in fantasy and in real life, and he buoyed me there. So feel real good about this one. Was able to get another bag. And we're moving on to next week, man. Hopefully get some guys healthy and try to do it again. And that brings us to our power ranking, which I don't like putting my team up at the top, but I have to now. 5-1, big win. I'm at the top. Joe, I've got #2 because I think his team's awesome. Eddie, close #3. I think his team's awesome too. Same with Merck. Those guys are 2, 3, and 4, all sitting at 4 and 2. Willie, a little weaker of a roster, but he finds a way to win, 4 and 2. Then we go down to number 6, 7, and 8, and 9 are all sitting at 3 and 3. That's Mark, Ant, the City, and Corey, respectively. So Corey's right on the cut line. He's on 9. So Corey, if it were to end today, brother, you'd miss the playoffs. So make those moves. Do what you got to do. Then we've got Trey. Trey's one of the better managers in the league, puts a ton of time and effort in, and he's got a very youthful roster. We'll be in some discussions. He may shake that up because I don't know that Trey makes the playoffs with that roster being as youthful as it is. Too much up and down. And he's got some stunners on there, but they're all young. And we'll see. Trey's going to put a lot of work into that, I'm sure. He's sitting at the 10 spot. Gino's 2-4. At the 11, Mike moved up. You're at the number 12 spot, 2-4. Mario and Trent are bringing up the rear with the gear. I know Mario got a win, but 107 points. That was a pretty rough performance, and Trent's just got a lot of work to do. That being said, our number 8 spot is 3-3. That means that number 8 through 13 are separated by a game. And not only is the 8 spot separated by a game, 6, 7, and 8 are separated by one game all the way through 13. So 6 through 13 are separated by one game. That's Justice League. That's where we're at. That's the evenness. Or, you know what I mean? And that's the way we want it. So Trent, bolster up that roster, brother. Get that thing cooking. Get that thing where it needs to be so that you can join the fray. We're looking at the Week 7 matchups here. See what we got. Run down this real quick. I'm going to be up against Corey. Corey, grab him. I'm coming. I'm coming.
There you go.
It ain't going to be no love there. I'm coming. Eddie and Masidi, that's going to be a good, solid matchup there. There's going to be a lot of bye weeks there. Corey and I's matchup, not a ton of bye weeks there. I think it's going to be a pretty heavy matchup. I think he's got a great chance to have a good week, and I'm damn sure going to have a great chance to have a good week too, and I'm going to load it up. Eddie is going to have some bye weeks to deal with, same with Bomb Squad. We've got Willie going up against Gino. Willie's got a ton of buys. Looks like Gino's looking like he's going to be really favored to get another win, bring him to 3-4, put him in probably playoff position. Mario's going up against the Ozone. Ozone's one of the hotter teams that everybody seems to have some bye weeks going on. Joe's got Ant. Doesn't look like Joe's got much in the way of bye weeks. He's going to be a really strong team this week. Ant is going to have to kind of put some stuff together. Trey looks like he's catching Merck on a good week here. Trey's going to really need to grab a win in this one. And then, Mike, you've got Maze and crew. You've got Trent. Not going to take it easy on him, I'm sure. And I'm looking at the roster here. I don't see any crazy bye weeks, so it's.
I just changed it. So I went in there and changed it while we were talking. I took out Dawson Knox because he's on a bye, and then I put the Otten guy in there at Tampa Bay because he's going to be the starter. And then I made a moving Claypool in the lineup because he's got a good matchup and he's starting the ball. So, just gonna finagle it a little bit. Still got some stuff I'm gonna work on. I got obviously people like I'm always open for trades, guys. So if you're listening, you want to talk, there's always value. So, so that's always something I'm working on. But see what happens against Trent. That would be a big deal if I could win back-to-back games because I'm right on the cusp of being in the playoffs. So I got to keep it going.
Yep. There's going to be some good matches. A lot of people got to move and shake here. I'm looking at me and Corey's matchup. The only buys that I see are dual kicker buys. So it's going to be no excuse, man. It's going to be mano and mano, and this will be the first week that I'm going to get Henry and Taylor on the field at the same time. So I'm coming. That's all I'm saying.
You got a Colts running back for 30 points, but you probably didn't think it was going to be that Colts running back, I'm sure.
Right. So hopefully I could drop Deion Jackson and I could get the real Colts running back and we'll see. But that's what we got, man. Power rankings are out. It's going to be happy hunting tomorrow. Our waiver wire is always popping. The boom boom room is always snapping and people are throwing ones everywhere. We're going to see who the big money guys are next week. It's now week 7, man. Week 7. We're approaching dang near the halfway mark here. So, it's winning time. It's always winning time, but it's really about to be winning time. I've got nothing else. Thanks for rocking with us. I hope everybody watches this. I hope it's informative, good breakdown. Hell of a year. I love what I'm seeing here in the standings. I mean, there's a 5-1 team, a 1-5 team, and then everybody else is 4-2 through 2-4, like you would figure. But it's just so even across the board. I mean, we've got 4 2-4 teams, 4 3-3 teams, 4 4-2 teams. I mean, it's like it's really jumbled up. It's going to be super competitive all the way through. Guys, set your lineups, man.
Every week it's competitive, and every week can change, guys. If you don't monitor stuff that's going on, it's just going to be a grind. I think it's going to be all the way to the end of the regular season. It's going to be so close with what teams get in the playoffs and what teams don't.
Yep, it's going to be good. So, hey, Hopefully the Yankees win tomorrow. Got rained out tonight, 4 o'clock, and we got to go against Justin Bieber. Bob Costas, you idiot. That's not his name. But anyway, we're going to roll with it. So we're signing off, man. Week 6 recap. Week 7, it's going on and popping. Everybody set your lineups, and let's keep it going, man. Thanks for rocking with me, Mike. We're out of here.
You got it.